the transition going with so many key people gone and so many key people moving into new places?
Well, we were excited for all the guys. At the end of the season, they got picked up and are continuing their careers in professional baseball, and other guys that are moving on to other ventures of their life. So obviously it's exciting watching as many guys that came through here and graduate and get their degree and move on to the professional world, whether it's sports or life. From the strictly sports side of it, we all see there's the whole outfield took off, and we got some big arms with Jerp and Finn and Carpenter. But the reality is, like, that's part of our job. Develop them while they're here, build lasting relationships, help them out so that they're ready for that next step. And really, we had a lot of guys chomping at the bit. Guys that didn't play a ton last year that really want to get out there and go, and some incoming guys, some freshmen and some transfers that everyone wants to be the number one guy at their spot here and in the country. And so it's made for really competitive practices and some heartfelt conversations, letting people know where they stand and watching how they respond to it. So I know that, there's a lot of new faces, but at the same time, I think, Dorr and Gip did a fantastic job bringing in the right people, very athletic. I mean, if you see them in the weight room, you're kind of wondering, can we get these young kids any stronger? As they're already taking care of it throughout, their high school years. And, as I'm sitting next to these two guys right now, they've been great ambassadors for this program too. Connecting with recruits when they're on campus is something that they are very interested in because they care about the program and this family's longevity. And also just, we encourage all those recruits to reach out and talk to the people who they really want to hear from. Not always me, but the student athletes, to really understand what that experience is like here and what to expect. Only being a few weeks out from game one, we're going to continue to push. It's not like, okay, let's start settling in and get ready. It goes throughout the duration of the year, and we have a lot of guys that are really hungry to work. So it's not any complacency, that's for sure. And I think the biggest thing is not focusing on what everyone else is doing, but more so taking care of just ourselves, making sure that we're pushing and getting better in the weight room and on the field and in the classroom. So not worried about any other noise out there except taking care of the guys we have.
Trav, I wonder, with so many new faces, is there a different energy? And with so many new faces, are the expectations the same? Like, could you just describe the energy and the expectations?
First, touch on the expectations. I think the expectations are the same, and it's part of what makes this program special is that everyone in the clubhouse, in the family, thinks that Omaha's the place every year, and we believe that wholeheartedly. So I think the expectations of Omaha came up short, a little sour taste in our mouth last year. So that's the expectation this year. And then, there's definitely a different energy. Last year, a lot of guys had really solidified their track in the program and knew kind of what they could do out there. And this year, there's like a lot of young faces, a lot of talent, and guys are just ready to go out there and make their mark on the program and go win. So it's different, but it's fun.
For Travis and Garrett, like Travis, you just mentioned the sour taste in your mouth. Getting so close to Omaha, coming up just short, how much has that kind of translated to motivation, or how much have you used that to kind of fuel yourselves going into this year?
Yeah, for me, I actually have a picture in my locker of Auburn dogpiling on our field for motivation. So it's definitely a sour taste, as Trav said, that we want to get rid of and have the sweet taste of victory in Omaha this year, and take this young group of guys and develop them with the potential they have. We know we can get there, and then they'll get natty 5, 6, and 7 in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like you just spend time in the months like past that Auburn regional, super regional, like thinking about where can you be better, where can I feed into other guys and help them be better, and just try to like make up what's necessary to be an Omaha team every year. So just like thinking about it, dwelling on it, facing, like being self-aware with where personally you can be better and give out to others.
For Mitch, lost a lot of innings in the rotation last year, especially with Coop going in the first round. How are you feeling about the current pitching staff that you guys going, especially on the front end?
Well, we've been training extremely hard. Door's pushing the pitchers in ways we haven't had to in the past. Last year having some of those arms like Coop, you're just working on slight tweaks in a pitch here or there, or controlling the running game, maybe with a couple other guys. When you have younger arms, there's a progression to what you want to see. Number one, you want to see them be able to go out there, be comfortable in their own spikes, and have some commitment, some conviction in what they're doing on the mound. And so until you have the mentality, it's hard to build the rest around it. I think, again, alluding to these guys and the people they share the clubhouse with, they've been really good about acclimating all the new faces and getting them up to speed. And that happened throughout the entirety of the fall, even over break, seeing guys wanting to stick around and work out together, the amount of time they spend away from the field together. Travis and I talked not too long ago about the new faces and him, like what it was like for him to be the new guy. Garret came in and he already knew he was, the best bunter on the team, best strike zone command. He believed in all that stuff, and he's proven it to be true. And as Travis and I talked about, big energy, wanting it, having a lot of his life, people telling him, no, you can't do this. And one of my favorite things about Travis, other than, his ability to be a great human being to everyone around him, is anytime you tell him no, he's going to prove you wrong. Dorman brought it up and said, Travis, you don't want to get on the mound. And then instantly I know Travis is going to start working on a slider to prove to Dor that he could pitch and eat up innings in an effective way. So we're going to back off of that, okay? But the way that they go about pushing each other around them, especially in our pitching staff, having guys like Ben Ferrer and Brownie and Kamatz who know the system, who really want to be successful. We talked about this. It's not about being nice guys. Nice guys never finish on the, where they want to be on the podium. And so we got to be truth tellers with one another, no different than any other year. I think it's a great opportunity for those young guys, or the guys that have been waiting in the back behind guys like Jerp and Fenn, to jump out front and get innings and make some big strides. And so I'm not concerned about it. I'm actually pretty excited. I know if Dor was up here on the stage right now, he'd be thrilled to talk about the arms and how they're getting better and better.
And we could guess Jacob's going to get a good portion of innings in the rotation this year based on what he did last year. Any other guys you're really excited to really get out there on the mound, watch, maybe get stretched out a little bit in a bigger role?
All of them. I mean, really, there's, like you said, there's a lot of potential for some new innings, but Trent Sellers coming in, watching how he's adapted to this role, being an older guy, mixing in his looks, very quick to the plate, attacks the zone. We have a lot of guys right now that attack the zone. We've seen just from the fall and thus far when guys got back from break, a guy like Quinn who's really filling up the strike zone, guy who's been in the upper 90s and a pretty heavy breaking ball. If he continues to fill up the zone, that guy can make a huge impact for us this year with his mentality and everything. Even his times at the plate are now sub 1.3, and he's still filling up the strike zone. So excited to see jumps from guys like that, that second-year jump, really settling in and allowing yourself to be who yourself to be. And then, I think Hunter and Lawson making big jumps this year as well. Hunter did a great job last year in multiple roles, starting or relieving, pitching some big games. And so he's even learning more about himself, how to really drive the ball down and making it move. It's been, I caught him a few times, and, he's reminded me that I should be wearing a thumb guard. And then the guy like Lawson, who is, as he said, I'm sick of waiting. I'm sick of being on the back burner. I want to be the guy now. And so he's made some big jumps with just his intent and his velocity, and how he's training is a lot different than it's been in the past. So I can see those guys having big years that really turn the corner for themselves, not just for Oregon State, but for the longevity of their career.
Piggybacking on that, Mitch, is it safe to say that you don't know yet what your weekend rotation is, A, and B, are you kind of hoping that Brown and Ferrer emerge as starters? Is that kind of your plan or hopes right now, or is that still too early?
But we're setting everyone up to be ready to go long if needed. You know, the more times they touch the ball, the cleaner their stuff's getting, the stronger their arms are getting. You know, we haven't put together a rotation yet, but between Kamatz, Sellers, Hunter, Lawson, Townsend, you know, there's a lot of guys. Larson, who also fills it up, he threw 110 innings and walked, you know, like 8 last year. And so there's a lot of guys that fill up the zone, which is what we want. We have a great defense. Let's let them work. And that's how we've also put up our numbers like we have as far as eliminating walks and striking out a lot of guys. If you get ahead in those 0-0-1-1 counts, the strikeout percentage goes through the roof. And that's why we've done a great job over these years. Door challenges those guys. They challenge each other. Strike one. Win the 1-1s. You know, win the 2-2s. And just attacking the hitter. I think their mentality has continued that progression over the last several years. But a guy like Ben, you know, we've seen him in multiple roles. And he's willing to do anything and everything it takes. That's been the message that he's delivered to us. We know he can start. We know he's got the stuff to do it, to pitch backwards. And then, you know, but there's something to be said about a guy who can jump in and finish out a game if you need 4 innings or 3 innings or 1. So he's going to be very versatile for us this year. We might see him start from time to time, and we might see him come out of the pen. You know, we may start one of the other guys on Friday, and if we need Ben, we go to him. And if he's safe for Sunday, maybe we just jump right out and give the ball to him. But I think he's ready for anything. And Ben has been very inspirational to all the other arms around him. He's been pushing the needle forward.
So Ryan's still closer? Or is he in that mix too?
I mean, we've all seen what Brownie can do. There's no doubt at the end of the game, you know, he's got probably one of the best chances of getting the ball, no doubt about it. But it also comes to where are we at in their lineup. He might come in the 8th and get 2 innings. He might come in the 7th because it's the heart of the lineup and it's the best matchup for him. I don't think there's necessarily saying, hey, you need to drive this one guy only for the 9th inning. What if their best part of their lineup's right there in the 8th? You know, then we can have some other guys that maybe have really good success against those guys in the 9th too. So, you know, it's changing how it's been done in the big leagues. It's changed how it's done in collegiate ball. I think it's just game management, sticking with your plan, and also being able to adjust from time to time, you know, based on emotions and, you know, where the need is. Brownie's a guy that when he comes in the game, everyone gets excited, and you know he's going to go out there and give his best stuff. And so maybe we just need a spark of energy, and he comes in a little earlier. But I thought what he was able to do last summer, go out and throw some innings, coming in as a starter, was also good for him developing his pitches even more.
For Garret and Trav, last year we were hearing a lot about you and, you know, the freshmen that everybody was talking about and the ways that you had made in fall. I wonder from a player's perspective, who's that incoming freshman who's kind of impressed you guys the most in fall and through workouts?
There's a couple. It's a pretty talented class. I think in terms of potential impact, there's a couple guys that really jump to my mind, and that's Gavin Turley, Dallas Macias, and Easton Tolt. On the offensive side, I'm kind of biased, so pitches, someone else can figure that out. But those guys are pretty special, and they look really confident in their cleats from the get-go. And I think that's the biggest thing between like the success of guys freshman year, sophomore years. Often you see guys break out in their sophomore year, and they had all the skills and talent freshman year to do what they did in their sophomore year, but it's just about like believing and like having that identity in yourself. So biggest thing I'm trying to push is with those guys that are pretty special and could make an impact on this team is like believe that you belong here and you're going to do great things this year. Like it's not, you don't have to wait to be that guy. So yeah.
I'm excited for AJ Hutchinson. He's a freshman side armor from Elk Grove, California, so my neck of the woods. And I've got to see him play growing up a little bit, and the way he's changed and progressed, and getting to see him work here in the fall was really cool. And he put it to us hitters. So I'm expecting that he's going to do great things for our bullpen this year.
First of all, I just want to say what a privilege it is to be able to cover this program and how excited I am to be here and do that. But probably for Garret and Travis mostly, when you have multiple guys not only playing Major League Baseball who have come from this program in recent years, but finishing as finalists for Rookie of the Year, how much tangible motivation does that bring you guys when you talk about especially longevity of careers?
Yeah, I think we all just want to be like them, and we're all wanting to live their dream. So we see the work that they put in, and they come back and they work here during the winter time and in the early spring before they go to spring training, and we get to see what they do and get to hear what coaching's like and what the life's like, and it drives home that dream that we have of being at that next level and being where we want to be.
Yeah, I just think that, like, again, seeing them around, like, shows kind of the family that's built here over the years, and they come back and they want to be a part of it. All those guys, like the names that come to your head, they're all around. And yeah, they're willing to give back, and hopefully we get the chance to be in their shoes and then give back to the next, like, generation of Beavs. So it's special, and it motivates me to, like, want to be great and then also put into the people that are coming after me.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, you say these guys come back a lot. Is there a piece of advice you've gotten from Adley or Steven maybe that has resonated with you? Either of you.
I think just to see their work ethic is, I mean, they don't have to say anything, but just the way that they work, we get to see that and see what it takes to be where they're at. And I know that's what I've taken most from them.
I've got a more specific one. Steven came back, obviously, like, Rookie of the Year finalist, gets back to Corvallis. He's just playing catch with another Beav, and I went up to him and was like, hey, like, you're probably hearing this a lot, but, like, crazy year. So exciting to watch what you did. And I kind of just asked him, like, how did you feel like transitioning from breaking in AAA, AA to the big leagues, and what kind of takeaways did you leave after a long 162-game season? And he basically just said, like, the game's the same, and, like, you still get pitches to hit, and people make that transition to the big leagues bigger than it is offensively. And so it was kind of like, damn, like, as much as people get better as you move on, you still get pitches to hit. You still just got to get your foot down on time. So, like, he kind of just simplified that. And I was like, damn, no wonder he's so good, is he's got that, like, mental state to where he just he believes in what he does and keeps the game simple. And, yeah.
Mitch, you've, having led the program for a few years now and been through that recruiting process, how are you feeling about the work that you and your staff have done as far as, reloading the rosters as opposed to rebuilding it?
Yeah, like I said, those guys are doing a phenomenal job. We have co-recruiting coordinators. And it's not that Dor just takes care of the arms and Gip takes care of the position guys or anything like that. They communicate a ton. And, me being involved in that, I wanted to give them the autonomy to run it how they see fit. But we're all out on the road. We're all talking about it. It's part of the joy of working with some of your best friends. We'll be on the phone early morning, noon, or late at night, just talking about either it's family stuff or recruiting. And, we all understand, we're looking for the right talent. We're also trusting the advice of our student athletes when kids are coming in on their visits, because we want to make sure, like, they always are going to act different around me or the other coaches than they will our student athletes. So getting great feedback from these guys, really in depth. We take our time with recruiting because we want to make sure we're getting people that really want to be here and people that are really going to fit our culture and continue this. Do we see that person coming back 5 years after they're gone and wanting to still work out or hang out with the guys or give back to the program? Do we see this person being respectful in their communities? Do you see this person as someone who's going to be able to handle, hard feedback, the truth, and how are they going to respond to it? And so we go through a very extensive process, and Dor and Gip especially are really good not only spotting talent, but spotting the right kind of guys. And that's why I look at this year, some of these young guys that are probably going to be a big part of our season you know, they were looking at him for the last several years and bringing on the right character. Now these guys are performing already as freshmen, where a lot of times you bring in guys and they need a year or two, you know? But every single one of those guys, after not performing or playing as much as they want after year two, they start to get mad in a good way. Like, I'm sick of being on the back burner, I want to compete. Dora and Gip have done a great job recruiting and committing the right guys that we feel are going to be impactful year one, and also are going to be able to handle, if they're not in the lineup, the right way and still lift everyone else up around them. So I wouldn't say I personally don't feel like rebuilding, you know. I just think we also have other guys that are hungry, and when you have guys that were that good as a lot of our guys, shoot, I'm trying to find and push our guys to take his spot at second base. I'm trying to find guys to take his spot at first base, because I know what they'll do. They will, in turn, elevate their game and take that spot back. And it's just rising everyone up around them. I mean, both these guys here, we might see them play traditional first base or second base. You might see them run around the outfield again. I don't know if outfield's in your path right now, but it could be. He'll do whatever.
Yeah,
He'll do whatever it
I'll
takes.
play anyway.
He wants to catch anyway.
No doubt about it, yes. He reminds me every day.
And third base.
And third base. But that also is an option. We've seen Garret play second base. You know, I think the energy is a real thing, and the willingness to do whatever it takes to win the ball game, I think, is important. And that's why these guys are great Beavs and great ball players, and that's what we focus on when we recruit, bringing in the right people. So I don't feel a rebuild. I think these guys are going to go out and handle their business and push each other and do what we know they can do.
And this was asked of the players, but who are some of those newcomers that you feel like might be able to have an immediate impact for you?
Well, he touched on, you know, the position player side. I also look at from the pitching side, since they've already covered a couple of guys. Nelson Keljo, big body, strong arm, made some big jumps with his slider. Didn't pitch a ton in the fall because he had a really busy summer, so we didn't have him on the same pace as the other guys. I also see, you know, like Hutch. He's got some funky stuff, and he's also very confident. He doesn't get stressed out, you know, when everyone's watching him throw, which shows a lot of maturity and ability to go out there and pitch in meaningful games. I'd also say, you know, a guy like Aiden Jimenez, a very strong arm. And I look at this kid, not just for this year, but down the road, he's continued to get better and better. He wants the baseball, he's big body, and he's got feel for multiple pitches. Still got a ways to go, as most of us like always do, but you know, I see a lot of great things coming out of those arms, and really, any of those guys can be the pick to click in any given moment. Their work ethic's strong, and I watch a guy like Brownie sit down there and work with guys, and Brownie was a freshman, we joke about this, freshman All-American as a junior, you know, so he bought his time, but he also made that choice in his life that I'm gonna turn the corner. I'm not gonna be timid anymore. I want it better than anyone else, and I'm gonna go out there and finish the game, because that's what's needed of me to do. And other guys are starting to see that, you know. So we pay a lot of attention to the freshmen, pay a lot of attention to the hurt guys, pay a lot of attention to those guys that are, you know, not necessarily in the everyday lineup. The guys that are in the lineup every day and doing their thing, you know, you just make sure they don't drift away from the process that got them there. But a lot of those other guys, we're trying to elevate them so they go out there and make an attempt to take their job, or if something happens, they're ready to jump in. We saw it from Dernetti, we saw it from Meckler, we saw it from Boyd. Boyd came in as an infielder, right? A left side infielder. Then he goes to first, and then he goes to the outfield, and he's, you know, the most amazing outfielder in the country, cutting balls off in the gaps. And so it's just, he's a ball player. He wants to win. And for a lot of our freshmen, we do that with them too. For Easton Talt, not easy for him. He's running out in the outfield one practice. The next day he's running behind the dish. Then I tell him to go take ground balls just to keep his legs moving around. And it's not easy to balance outfield and catching, but he's athletic, so very athletic that, you know, he can even he has the ability to catch, but he also has the ability to lay down a bunt and get down the line in, you know, 3.4 seconds. So that's a pretty nasty weapon to have. I'd say any of our freshmen we're excited for, even the guys that are a little banged up and haven't been able to participate to this point. What they're providing, I'm probably one of the most inspiring guys thus far. grad transfer out of PLU, Noah Ferguson. You know, he's here and he's not able to do anything because he got fixed up, but he comes and he is willing to help anybody and everybody. Never heard the guy complain one time, and he knows he's not competing this year. And it's guys like that again, I've said this before, it's not what they do when the ball's in their hand, but when it's not, that you really pay attention to. And guys like Noah and other guys have kind of bonded together and even made the environment better for these guys. So if we're very successful this year, it's not just the guys that are on the field playing, but it's all those guys that are built up around them to make sure that they're not drifting.
Mitch, how much time in the off-season, in the summer and in the fall, do you spend working with the analytics squad? And maybe could you provide some insight on how that helps guys like Garret or Travis or guys who are coming back develop their games in the off-season?
Yeah, I mean, Brad and I are very close. You know, he can pretty much do anything and everything. So anytime I gotta just like hone him in on one or two projects because he'll try to do everything. But I spend a lot of time talking with him, kind of behind the scenes. I don't want it to become noise for everybody. There's been times we ask him about defensive stuff, you know, just going back and looking through film. We made a transition this year. Everything at practice is filmed from every different angle. I love watching high home practice and just seeing how bodies move and where are we like not showing enough efficiency within our practice plan. I don't like practice to go 3 hours. I like it to go 2 hours and 15 minutes. And so if we can cut out some of the blase blah or stand around time, and then I look at us coaches, how much time are we spending with each guy out on the field? Are we moving, or are we constantly just huddling together? And so we have all the tech in the world possible, but for me it's also like going to a doctor. You don't need to go get an MRI every week. And so if we notice something, you know, then we go back and use our tools to help these guys develop. We have a great strength coach, probably the best in the country. We have an amazing athletic trainer, also biased. I believe that all of you guys, by the way, are the best in the country. Proud papa, you know. And so we trust those guys to tell us how their bodies are moving and what their energy level's like, and also finding ways to challenge them, you know, mentally, not just physically, because the season will have those highs and lows, but analytics are a great tool to use to encourage what we're doing, or also, you know, prove that, hey, we need to try something new. And so I think it's just case-by-case basis. For Brad, he's really good at thinking of ideas and bringing them to us, myself, Dorr, Gibson, and Barney. But also we give him special project stuff that we want to work on. But for me personally, I've been asking for more video. Can't be everywhere at once, and so if I'm not able to go watch a bullpen, I want to be able to watch it after practice. I usually watch film from high home at the end of every practice and see how we're moving and give my coaches big feedback. So Brad being able to have a team to go out and get that video and get it back to me quick has been extremely helpful for us coaches to make big jumps on how we do things. But, you know, definitely Brad is doing a better job every year getting the right people in that office of analytics, and it's really connected us to the university, and it's been fun watching some of the student managers in analytics move on to professional careers too. So not only are we excited for our student athletes that are making that jump as an athlete, but also for our managers. You know, James Marshall was here last year, and he's now, you know, director of operations and working with infielders across the country. And so whether they're on-field managers or analytics, it's just really cool to watch these young men and women develop.
And then for Garret and Travis, you guys obviously have that bad taste in your mouth after last season, but with so many new players on the team, how have you almost instilled that bad taste in their mouth too, even if they might not have been there for that heartbreaking loss?
I think that it's kind of hard to instill the bad taste. Like, they felt it themselves. Like, if they care about winning, if we recruited the right people, they were right in there with us, whether they were in the crowd or watching it on TV. Like, they would have felt that same kind of sour taste. So, yeah, it's just about, like, the right guys that are going to understand what happened last year and take it on themselves to like play a role in an Omaha team this year. So you just want guys to step up as freshmen and believe in themselves and have an identity that they're the best player on the field every time they step on it. So I think that's it, really.
Yeah, and for me, they asked me about that picture in my locker, and you can see all of us in the dugout in the background, and it's because I tell them it's because I do not want to feel like that again. So let's find a way. You guys are the new generation. Let's find a way to get past where we did and know what this organization is able to do and win another national championship.
I like to make Hank mad, so I like to ask one after he says I'm not allowed to.
So do we.
Years ago, it always seems like someone pops that, you know, has been in the program for a year or two, and, you know, a couple years ago it was Mac and Melvin last year, Gavin, Boyd maybe. Is there someone that we're like gonna be pleasantly surprised by that popped in the fall, or you guys think it's probably?
Ruben?
Okay, because he's got an answer that's like a good one, but you said like people that have been in the program.
Who did you say?
I think the biggest pop we're going to see is from Ruben Casillo. He's a transfer from Lynn Benton, and he's shown that he can definitely compete at this level and is going to do very, very good things for us this year.
What position?
Center field.
Okay, well, sorry.
And then I'd say like in terms of guys that have been here a little bit now, I think Brady Casper. Started as an infielder, kind of moved to the outfield really fast, but he's got the potential to be an impact bat, and I think he's ready now to make that jump and be one of those guys that kind of steps in and you didn't really hear about him early on in his career here, and then he's going to make that jump.
And conversely, like, did you have one? You were going to say something?
I always got something.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was just thinking about the question before, like, to piggyback off what they were talking about, how do you motivate the other ones? I think it's just by the work that they do. I mean, it's real. Like, if like I said, we're not a bunch of nice guys, you know, like, but now granted, kids camp goes on. I get all kinds of people emailing me compliments. Oh, you have such wonderful kids. They're holding the door for us, and, you know, very cordial how they go about themselves in the community. I hear from it all the time. Small town, so you're always hearing from people about, you know, the good, the bad, whatever. I like the good emails, and I hear about it all the time. But I also like, and they're very kind, like sweet, and they take care of other people. But they also push each other, and so like when it comes to the field and their work, they're not nice. They all want to start. They all want to be the everyday guy. They all want to win. And the more you do that and you get that other guy out of the way if he's not doing it right, you're not being mean. You're being competitive. And so the more I see those kind of things, the more encouraged I am. And then I know the younger guys are going to have a chance to feel that hunger. You shouldn't have to wait to experience the really bad before you make an adjustment. Sadly, that's what most people decide to do. But when you have a tight brotherhood, you know, you tend to listen to your brothers a lot more than you listen to anyone else because you know they really care. I mean, that's why these guys, I push them to go eat breakfast 5 days a week together. You get to know each other, you have real conversations. You know, today when we go practice, I push somebody out of the way, right? If they're not moving the needle in the right direction, just remember how bad that hurts to lose. I don't like going into a game and feeling bad, like, man, we should have just pushed these guys harder or something like that. Like that would, and as far as guys popping this year, like all over. I think that everybody that's sitting in that clubhouse right now that is healthy enough to get on the field has a great opportunity to go out and be an impact player. It just depends on what are you considering an impact player, hitting 350, hitting 20 homers, like throwing 100 innings and throwing a 1 ERA. No, I think that everyone has the potential of being an impact player, whether you throw 1 inning or 100, and whether you have 250 at-bats or 10 or 0. That's just the way I look at it. So, you know, it may not come up about so-and-so player, you know, well, he didn't even do anything. Yeah, but this guy, Noah Ferguson, impacted everyone. You know, Isaac Hill, freshman, come in, he's not going to play this year, but he's already going to impact some people. We all have influence, and especially the higher up you rise, the more weight you carry and the more people are going to be jumping around. I get to sit next to 2 guys, and Brownie's sitting in the back over there. These are 3 guys that influence everybody around them, including myself. All right? They challenge me because they're thinkers and they really want to be good, so I can't show up with anything less than my best. Otherwise, I'm letting them down. And I love them too much to let them down. And I do believe that there's going to be impact from not just one or two guys this year. There's going to be a lot of them. Thank you. Everyone want some water?